Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Just drop in a message if you can hear me, so that I know that you guys are online. For those who are online, can you put in a message? Just say yes, or raise your hand. Put a yes, so that I know that you have come in onto the line, so that you can hear me, that you're hearing me. You're hearing? No? Okay, so let's just wait till we get this right. So yeah, can you hear me, everybody there? Is it? Am I audible to you? It'll be great if you can say yes, so that I know that some of you are there. So if you can just drop in yes, that would be great. So I know that you can hear me. Okay. So hi everyone. Good morning and welcome to this webinar on career opportunities post MBA. Okay. I am Ajay Nayar, and I'm from an alumnus of MICA. I did my computer science engineering long time ago, and worked in sectors like IT, media, and education. Now currently in the education field, and I'm giving this webinar where I'm talking on career opportunities post MBA. Right. So I think the first question is, why should you know? I mean, why this webinar? Why should you be listening on a Sunday morning to career opportunities in MBA? So I come across a lot of students who do their MBA. So an MBA, is to question why do you want to do an MBA? The first answer, or the most important answer, is for a career. So before you do an MBA, while you're doing an MBA, it is very important that you know what are the career opportunities available, because based on that you can then plan your 2 years, because 2 years is going to go in a whiffy. Before you know it, you're going to pass out. So whatever you do, once you're as much information you need to gather regarding what the career options are, so that you know exactly what you should do while in your MBA school. It helps you choose an MBA school, and it decides, because this is when you talk about a career, we're talking about something that you're going to do for 25 years of your life. And if you plan on a Sunday morning to watch a movie with friends, there's at least a half an hour planning that needs to be done. Getting your friends together, booking a ticket, planning the theater, planning how to go to the theater, right? And now we are sitting here and planning 20 years of your life. So there's seriously some research that each of you needs to do to get information about the options that are available before you plan your careers, right? So that's what my webinar is about. And I'm going to start off with, when you join an MBA, there are 4 specializations, right? Marketing, and HR. So to a large extent, I'm going to talk about the opportunities, or the career opportunities, that these 4 specializations are going to give you. I can then take up questions if any areas that you specifically want to. Okay. So I'll start with marketing, because probably that's the area where I also did my MBA from. So I'm going to start with the opportunities in marketing. Marketing probably is one of the most exciting fields that has come in now, and what has really made it exciting is digital marketing. Okay, this whole area of digital marketing, I think 5-10 years before, it just didn't even exist. 5 years before, it was just the tip of the iceberg. But today, as we sit and talk about careers and opportunity, this one opportunity is the best future. This is right. What do you mean by digital marketing? See, to a large extent, to a long time ago, we had marketing was done through newspaper, through TV, through hoardings, etc. And then came the internet. and internet would change everything, right? And now there's a whole virtual world which is out there on which we are beginning to do marketing, right? So marketing, the shift of all marketers, the shift of focus of all marketing has moved into this virtual medium, the digital medium, right? So that is where the most number of jobs are being created. That is where the most exciting career is. And this is something, I mean, any student who comes in MBA, you need to give this a thought. And especially if you're thinking of marketing, there's no way you can miss this, option, at least knowledge in this area. But here's the catch about it. When you're looking for digital marketing in a B school, right? Traditionally, what you find in a B school curriculum is there would be one course on digital marketing. Now here, this may not be enough for you to build your career in digital marketing, right? So pick up any B school curriculum and look at it. You'll find a lot of B schools in their general marketing career, put in a digital marketing subject. But when you want to build your career, when you go to a company and ask for a digital, or probably your placement team comes in with a digital what experience do you have in digital marketing, right? Because it's one thing to have theory. There's a lot of technical stuff, there's a lot of theory stuff, but what really counts here in digital marketing is the experience that you can get in your 2 years of MBA. And here is where live projects and internship really counts, right? So therefore, somebody who is keen on looking at digital marketing, my advice to you, two things are there. Three things. One, definitely take up the digital marketing course, which is typically offered as as an elective. B, make sure you do live projects in your 2 years. Pick up a couple of live projects so that you do them, you have a practical experience, you have them on your CV. And three, there's always an internship, which is a very integral part of your B school curriculum, right? 2 months or 3 months of internship you would be doing. Make sure you do your internship in a digital marketing course. Now, all this put together, gives you a platform to pitch to a digital marketing company, right? And a digital marketing can be the advertising agency, it can be a client servicing company, but this is what, I missed the fourth. Please do certifications outside your B school curriculum, outside your MBA curriculum. You need to do certain certifications, like let's say Google AdWords, or some courses in digital marketing. Make sure you do it apart from your usual MBA program. This will sort of ensure that makes you ready for a career in digital marketing. In digital marketing, of course, there are various areas. Probably if anybody of you later want to go deep into it, we can, because there would be internet advertising, there would be social media marketing, there would be SEO. So within digital media, again, there are areas which you can specialize in. You need to choose what you like and probably get into those areas and make your choice. Okay, so digital marketing, that's I spend the most time on digital marketing, because that's the most exciting career in marketing. And now I'll get into the traditional marketing careers which we have, which has always been there, and you continue to look at it, right? The first one is branding or product management, right? So invariably, when I go to any class and ask this question, which do you think is the most important, which is the most popular soap in India, the answer is invariably Lux. Okay, so who creates this brand called Lux? Well, Lux, we know, is the soap of the beauty queens, and all the way from yesteryears of Madhubala to the present years of Deepika Padukone, everybody supposedly used Lux. So it's the secret of the beauty, supposedly, right? But who has been creating this brand called Lux? Who is the person who controls the brand called Lux? This is the job of a brand manager. Once he comes into, he takes over, he's the brand custodian, right? He creates, controls everything, every communication, everything in marketing related to a product, to a particular brand, is done by the brand manager. So this is a very sought after career opportunity. After your B school, you probably join as a management trainee, then become a product executive, move into a product manager. So this is probably the one of the most exciting, again, a typical career opportunity in marketing. The second one, which is the most common in most B schools, is a career in sales and marketing, right? So a lot of people, most number of opportunities out there in marketing is in the sales area. In sales, again, there are two areas. One is B2B and the other is B2C. So you have sales, and then there's a B2B area that you can go to and a B2C area. To give you an example of a B2B, probably a company like LinkedIn, right? All of you have heard LinkedIn. So if you were to join LinkedIn as a salesperson or as a business development person, you would be going to companies and then pitching to them LinkedIn products. You would be creating, probably a solution. You would be a partner to a company in, in connecting with them with the LinkedIn products, right? So you need to probably convince a company of how to use, how they can tie up with buy LinkedIn products and help them in their business. Or a B2B sales, you are basically trying to partner with a company to improve their business. Okay, so there are a lot of, this is one sales which I believe is very important, that anybody in MBA who's interested in sales, this should be in marketing and sales. This is one career opportunity that you should look at. Why is it that an MBA guy is required for a B2B sales, right? Is because you need to understand the business that your a competitor has. Sorry, not a competitor, but a client. You need to understand the business that a client has and understand how does my product help the client, right? For this, you need to understand the business, have business knowledge, and then this selling in a B2B, in an environment is a whole lot of process, right? So there's a whole sales process that is involved where you convince your client, you logically show how your product helps your client, and then the sales happens, and so on and so forth. So B2B sales is one area where I find a lot of students getting into. That's where a lot of students find careers in. The other area of sales is B2C. Now B2C means business to, so in B2B your end client was a company or another business. In a B2C, your end client is an individual. So I mean, I was giving the example of Lux. So let's say a Unilever's, their end customer is an individual, right? So if you were to take up a sales role in a Unilever's, what you would be doing is you would be dealing with the distributors, right? So finally you go and buy, of course, you buy your soap in the retail shop. So as a person of Unilever's, you would be dealing with the distributors, the probably the retail people, ensuring that your product reaches the end consumer. So that sort of sales role, okay, we call it a sales and distribution that we typically call, is what constitutes a B2C sort of an opportunity. Number three, I'm going to say, number four, say in marketing, is advertising. I think this is the most glamorous field in marketing. You may have heard, I mean, any advertisements that you watch, this is created by marketing people sitting in advertising agencies, right? So again, I mean, if I were to continue with the example of Lux, this whole idea of Lux, or any soap, and in fact, one of the most famous advertisements has been of Little, where you had an actress under a waterfall, having a bath under a waterfall, and the soap shows freshness. All these sort of ideas, because Little is a freshness soap, or a Lux is a soap which is for beauty of the secret stars. All these ideas are brought about by people in the advertising firm. So this is typically an option which, after an MBA, you decide to join an advertising firm, probably as an account planner, as an account executive. This is another set of opportunities, right? The fifth set of opportunities in marketing you would call is marketing research. Now, this is a serious research area in marketing. If you thought marketing was only fun, well, think about it. Research requires a lot of, when you have questions, okay, in such that my sales in the company is going down. How do I increase my sales in the company? Or my advertisement is not working. Or I find that my brand equity is going down. How do I improve the brand equity of my product? How do I create a brand in my product? There are a lot of questions that come in marketing. And these questions the answers to these questions are given by somebody called as a marketing research person. So there are marketing research companies like, let's say, IMRB, or a Kantar, is our marketing research agencies. And what they do is they take up marketing problems, they research on these problems, they collect data, they analyze this data and give answers to these questions. Okay, so here in marketing, I touched upon right now 5 areas. 1, digital marketing. 2, brand marketing. 3, sales. 4, advertising. And 5, marketing research. So these are the 5 options, career options, that I would say marketing, the most promising, exciting careers in marketing. Okay, now when I ended with marketing research, I'm going to get into another hot career option, which is analytics. Marketing research is just the child there, but the father of research is data research, so to say, or the mother of research is analytics. Now this is probably something that you guys have heard about, and you may have heard words such as big data, Python, things like this. Now, this is an area which has come again in the last 4 or 5 years. This is an area which has come to stay, and this is an area which there's a serious amount of serious amount of work that is required. Again, if you look at these, especially the exciting careers that I'm talking about, this is very much related to the coming of internet, because it wasn't there earlier, and suddenly with the coming of internet, with the coming of digital, all these have really come up as career options. So what is analytics? In short, analytics is collecting data, analyzing data, and interpreting data so that companies can make better decisions, right? So as an analyst, once you build a career in analytics, what you would be doing is you would be going to a company, you would be working on data, probably. I don't know whether you've heard of companies such as Mu Sigma. These are analytics companies, or Latent View, and they would have a client. They will analyze the data of the client and probably figure out a pattern, suggest solutions to clients, and be able to help the company better with the data. So this would involve not only your MBA knowledge, but a deep understanding of quantitative method, statistical knowledge. So I'm finding a lot of students now, after a B school, choose analytics. And now here's the catch now for analytics. Again, in a traditional B school curriculum, you may not be able to completely, when you sit for your placements, when you want an analytics job, there are extra things that you need to gather, while before getting into an analytics job. And I would suggest this being, while doing your MBA course, please do a course, because it requires understanding of software, it requires technical data. So probably on analytics, a course on Python. Python is the language which, of data. A course on Python, or a course on SAS, a course on SPSS may be done in your college. It is important to do such courses parallel to your MBA, because this is what is going to allow you to look at this career option going ahead. So there's a whole lot of career opportunities being created in analytics, which is data driven, data exciting. And my suggestion here is that yes, once you decide that this is what you want to do, there are some extra careers courses that you should be doing apart from and in a B school, typically there would be courses such like data analytics or data modeling, again, which is given as an elective. So you need to pick up that elective and also pick up, probably one of these courses and do these courses, because that's what gives you the grounding for choosing a career in analytics. Okay. With analytics, now I next move on to operations. So for a long time, operations was, the number of opportunities in operations was coming back. So just now that I'm finishing marketing, any questions that you have, please drop your questions so that I can see, I can come back to your questions. Any doubts that you have, there is a comment section there. Please comment there, leave your comments there. It would be great for me also to understand what, any specific things that you might want to know, anything that questions that you may have. Please drop your comment section there. Let the questions come so I know what is exactly happening. Otherwise, it ends up into being just a one-sided. I know it's a Sunday morning and you're pretty just out of bed and just woke up, but this is a topic that this is planning for your career. This is planning for 20-25 years of life. It's a serious stuff. So this half an hour probably is going to give you ideas on which you can work on. So please, if you have something in your mind, just drop a comment here. I'm going to move into operations. So operations is a specialization in MBA. For a long time, the operations, lesser students were choosing operations, but in the last 2-3 years, operations has become a really hot specialization in an MBA school. Now, why is that? Because of the coming of e-commerce companies, the Amazons, the Flipkarts, the Swiggies, Zomatos have really changed the way operation works, right? So typically when we used to talk about operations, we think of a manufacturing company and we have an engineer or an MBA guy who's in a manufacturing company and he's a part of a manufacturing process. That's all gone, right? E-commerce is here. It's the next big thing. We all know that e-commerce is here. It's the next big thing. And this is given, and one of the backbone of all e-commerce companies is operations, right? And they need people who can match. For example, let's take a Swiggy, right? So Swiggy needs, it's a huge, today they're growing at a fanatic pace. They're growing in second-tier cities. They need people at the back end who can manage their operations. Here I'm talking about delivering to the customers. Let's take an Amazon. Starting by the time you click for some product that you like, sourcing this from a sales, from the shopkeeper to, the warehouse, taking it from the warehouse, the logistics, to getting it to your doorstep, to the address that you have clicked. This is a whole operational nightmare, if you want to call it, or it's a whole operational process. This is entirely controlled by MBA. I mean, you need people to do this, and this is where MBA guys are so much needed. We call this, so therefore today operations, probably is being replaced by the name supply chain management, right? So supply chain management is come back to MBA schools. That's the career option that we are looking at. So if just to go in a little bit detail, typically in supply chain management, again, there are different areas. Now, what is supply chain management? I mean, that's a question. There is a company, it gets raw material, it manufactures the product, the finished good, and then gives it to the customer. That whole line is called supply chain management. So starting from the very beginning to the very end, this, starting from the raw material to getting the, the finished good in the hands of the customer, this entire chain is called supply chain management. And we need people to manage this entire chain here. And this is where the jobs are, right? So we start off with, right, okay, so I've just realized that probably questions are not coming onto my, I'm just looking at some of the questions that you have written. Yes, I'll definitely come to HR. That's definitely at the end. So just hold on for some time. I'm good to hear that a lot of you can hear me. A lot of people are choosing Voya. What are the bands for salary bands for a fresher for these jobs? Well, there is a definite separate, to a large extent, let's say, something like supply chain management. Probably it starts from 4 to 5 lakh at the lower end, and it all the way it goes up to, let's say, a 15 lakh job. So you have jobs depending. So let's say in a supply chain management, again, there are different areas. One is vendor management. Another is what do you mean by vendor management? See, today we are we come to have aggregators, right? Like an Amazon, he brings different shopkeeper, different retailers onto his site. Or somebody like an Ola brings a lot of, sort of aggregates taxis, onto their site. So, or a Swiggy sort of aggregates, you can say, restaurant, having what is known as, aggregators, right? So bringing in a lot of vendors onto your site. So a vendor management in supply chain management is the person who brings vendors onto the site. So this is one part of supply chain management. The movement of the goods, as I said, raw materials, then the goods to, this entire movement is called by the word logistics. At the last end, then of course we have what is known as customer delivery, right? How do we reach that these customers? How do these, how are these products, your finished good, like let's say a restaurant, you ordered from a restaurant, how is the food delivered to your home? That's the last mile or the customer delivery. So there are areas you can specialize in each of these areas, or you can be, looking after an entire chain. So obviously, when you get into specific areas to start with, I would say so a vendor management job typically could come at 4 or 5 lakhs. But if you were taken in for a supply chain management of understanding supply chain, improving the efficiency of the management and operation company, it would probably come to 15 lakh. So that's the start from, let's say, 4 to 5 lakh at an entry. To 15 lakhs. The most jobs I would say would be in the 7 to 8 lakh range when it comes to an operation. Similarly, what probably marketing would also be along the same lines. So that's about operations. So as I said, there's vendor management, there's logistics, there's customer delivery. So here is one area where you will have to specialize in. As I said, supply chain management is the new operations. So all these new age technology energy, e-commerce or technology-enabled companies are all falling under this category, and they need people who are in operations. So operations is, as I said, is the new thing. It's the back end, right? This brings me into finance, right? Which is again traditionally the highest paid jobs or the most sought after jobs in any B school that we have. Just look at the questions. Yeah. So what's the most, I'm going to start with, again, the most exciting thing of finance. Of course, there's a whole lot of opportunities that are in finance. But what I want you, those who are going in right now for an MBA, to look at, you need to that's the new thing in finance. What would be a fintech company be? A Paytm, probably a Policy Bazaar, a Credit Mantri, jobs like this, that example, are fintech company. These are the companies that are hiring most in finance. Why do you call it marriage between finance and technology? Financial services, you can say, which are IT enabled. Again, as I said, wherever digital meets, one of these opportunities are created in that space. So the fintech companies have been the top recruiting companies in the top B schools across the country. Most guys in finance are moving on to are looking at opportunities here. Now, fintech companies, one of the things is, yes, they do look for some certain IT skills also. See, obviously their back end is IT, but they're typically looking at traditional financial knowledge. So somewhere you're trying to marry your financial knowledge and your probably technical skills also, right? So these are the two areas. Now, therefore, I'm going to go through finance, typical roles in finance, that fintech companies and finance companies. When I say finance companies, are KPMG and HSBC, of course, the big four, which includes Deloitte or all these sort of finance companies, banks, companies, credit agencies, all these companies, recruit for finance. So I'll touch upon the 4 or 5 career options which are in finance. The first one is credit analyst. What does a credit analyst do? So CRISIL is a credit rating agency. They choose a credit analyst, right? What does a credit analyst do? Your job is to analyze companies and understand the risk involved in giving a loan to such companies, right? So it's a financial analyst job in one way, where you have data, you analyze the financial data, and you will be suggesting whether a company, how risk-free it is, how much risk is there in the company. That's what you're going to be doing, because other people who are going to give loans, banks, etc., are going to study your analysis of that company and understand whether how risk free it is, how much risk is there in giving a loan, etc., right? So there is a credit rating, and it gets so on and so forth, and gets deep. The second one is equity research analyst. The name itself may be self-explanatory. So there are a lot of people, there are a lot of institutions looking at investing in companies. So your job again is to analyze the financial of companies, and suggest to companies, suggest to institutions, suggest to individuals where they should put their money, in which companies they should invest in. So there's thousands and thousands of companies where what an equity research analyst, let's say working, probably in a KPMG, does is he keeps studying companies. He studies the financial analysis of companies, does an analysis, uses ratios, understands how the company is, the financial position of a company, and then suggest whether it makes sense for you to do investments in a company. And when I say investments, of course, I said, why is it finance, the most highly paid? Because we are talking about crores and crores of money being invested based on your decision. So, you're in the hot seat. Let's not forget that when you take something like a equity research or credit, you're sitting in a hot seat, because based on your decision, crores of money is going to be go in and go out. But that's what the job is, right? And that's what makes it exciting. So credit analyst, equity research come in a lot of, companies out there, which is, the financial companies that you have there. There are even smaller companies, a lot smaller, companies which do equity research and credit analysis. So you have the big companies like the Deloittes of the world, and you maybe have, companies like Probe Equity and smaller companies which are there, which also do a certain amount of credit analysis, equity research. So again, there's a whole band of companies out there that you have. The number 3 area in finance, or number 3, I would say, is financial management, right? So these are people, this sort of a job, you are dealing with the company, and you're dealing with budgeting of a company, the cost accounting, the variance analysis. So you are helping build the company with its corporate finance, right? You're directly advising the company. You're an advisor to the company with regards to how to manage their finance, right? So again, you have the larger players like the big four do it, and you also have smaller company. A lot of boutique firms are doing into financial management. In fact, I came across a new firm which is called Sartena Advisors. They have targeted startups, and they act as the CFO, because for a startup it's difficult to have a CFO, to afford a CFO. So this company acts like the CFO for a startup and advises the company. A company, and you're a company, advises you on how you should do your financial management, how you should do your financial planning. So companies like this come to B-schools and hire people, and say, you're playing the role of a CFO in that company, where all you're putting to your financial knowledge into the act and advising companies on how they should do their financial planning. There is also, of course, the financial services. Selling of financial services is again a huge area where securities and probably in HDFC securities. All these companies are where here is sales and finance coming together. There are a lot of individuals out there who are looking, where should I invest my money? I mean, if you had 1 crore in your bank, how would you want to invest this money, right? Where would you put this money? So you have a lot of advisors, financial advisors sitting there who tell you how you can break up money. Where would you put your if you were an individual, where would you put that 1 crore of money? Where would you put that into? So there are financial advisors sitting for, and they would be selling probably products to you, different financial products to you. And this is as I said, a marriage of selling and finance. So financial services companies are one to look at. The most sought after financial career in probably a top B-School, which probably would be investment banking. This is something that a lot of you may have heard. Again, there are investment banking companies, the Goldman Sachs of the world, are investment banking companies who hire people, and they would be looking at these are typically people who would be involved in, let's say, mergers and acquisitions. When a company needs to raise fund, how do you raise a fund? So investment banker helps a company raise funds for him. It helps a company, to do a merger and acquisition. It helps a company to buy out another company, decide whether to go for an IPO, right? To go across into the stock market and sell their shares. An investment banker is going to help. So this is probably a really sought after career option in finance, right? So I'm going to sort of sum it up. The finance careers. As I said, the hot thing to look out is fintech company. If you're going in for an MBA, I want you to research on fintech companies. The career options, as I put, are 5. 1, it's credit analyst role. 2, it's an equity research role, analyst role. 3, a financial management role. 4, financial services role, selling of financial services. And last but not the least is investment banking. So that's the top 5 career opportunities for finance that you have. Okay. With that, I'll come into HR, especially somebody has talked about human resource. Okay. Now, are there opportunities for human resource? Definitely. I think there's always opportunity for human resource. HR is, you always need people to manage human talent in a company. And today with the, the Googles and Facebooks, these are companies which people really aspire to work in. You take up startups, they have different cultures. People want to join a certain work culture now. The most motivating part, what I feel, a lot of B-Schools and companies come and sell their work culture. Say, this is the way our work culture is, be a part of our work culture, right? Google, it's sort of, you can, it's almost a home in your office, that sort of a culture. Who creates this culture? It's the human resource, right? These are the people who motivate people, who allow people, to be a part of, who build the culture in a company, who guide people in, their in things. So, are there careers opportunities, human resources? Yes, greatly. I will put a rider at the very end, on human resources, since somebody asked me that question. But typically what happens from a B-School, most people get into a function called recruitment. Okay. And this is a function which is always there. Companies need people, and recruitment is an ongoing process with all companies. For the, a large company, probably they might outsource this to a LinkedIn, but there again, you are in recruitment. For some smaller companies, the HR does it themselves. In recruitment, again, there is sourcing, there's interviewing, there's onboarding. So this area, this complete area, of recruitment is done by HR. Again, in human resources, let's understand it starts from the recruitment, then, there's a life cycle of an employee till he leaves the company. So this entire life cycle needs to be handled by a human resource. So the guy at the top does it, but in it, there are different areas. And typically when you go out of B-School, you get into one of these HR areas, right? So recruitment, as I said, most students get into recruitment. That's where most positions are available. There are also 3-4 areas that I talked about will be performance management. So in companies, typically there are appraisals. When an employee, his performance has to be analyzed. There are matrices, there is the bell curve. There's a whole lot of tools out there which, evaluates people. The HR people are so important in doing performance management, because this is what motivates people. This is what pushes the right people, probably moves out the bad talent also, but gets people according to the performance, motivates their performance, evaluates their performance, rewards them on their performance, right? So this is a whole area which a lot more senior, probably senior HR people do this area, but that's an area. Performance management is an area which career option under HR. Number three is training and development. That's a huge area which we are seeing a lot of money companies are investing. HRs directly or indirectly are part of the training and development. It's a continuous ongoing process. A lot of opportunities are being found here where as we can see, people need to be skilled and reskilled at a very fast pace, and HR are in charge of making sure that, including the lower management, the reskilling happens, the training happens. Of course, when a person joins, when you are going to join a company, you are going to be put in a training by the HR. But not only that, throughout your working cycle, there will be a training, there will be a development that happens. Now, this is entirely handled by the human resource. The fourth area, I'm going to put a broad area called human resource in operations. Okay, so probably things like payroll and things like that would definitely be something that you can look at. The payrolls are handled, the back end admin work, the operation, the day-to-day is handled by the human resource team. So I'm putting that under operations. So the four areas that I put down under operations would be one, recruitment; two, performance management; three, training and development; and number four is operations. So as a human resource, a person who's interested in human resource, this would be one of the four areas that you would get into. Is there an opportunity? Of course, there are career opportunities, but as two riders I'm going to leave here is one. Traditionally, we see that human resource starts with a lower salary, and so in any sort of B school, the human resource guy probably gets low on the lower side, of any range that is in a B school. So that's one dampener. But if he is good, there is no extent to which you would grow in the organizations, because you need people, good HR people. So that's one rider. Two, a lot of lower end jobs are getting automized. So automation is happening in the human resource department. So a lot of lower end jobs are getting automated. Probably to a certain extent, recruitment would get automated, or probably performance, something like a payroll would get automated. And this would take out the lower end jobs in an HR function. But I think that is good, because then when you get in HR, you won't be doing a mundane stuff, which is admin work and things. Because typically a lot of people getting into it, from a human resource, they get into mundane stuff. They keep doing that for 1 year, and that is why a lot of people saying, is human resource boring? Well, here's the good news: all this boring stuff is going to be automated. So if you get selected for human resource, it's more about managing people, it's more about motivating people, performance management, recruitment. So a lot of high-end jobs, and therefore the pay will also go up, right? So that's the exciting thing that's happening in human resources. Automation is greatly happening, right? So that's winds up the human resource. A couple of questions came: do fintech companies go visit? Yeah. So the opportunities that I've been talking about are more with both with the top tier and second tier B schools. Why do I say first tier, second tier? Yeah. Many times a higher end, let's say 10 lakh to 15 lakh, jobs go to a higher end top tier B school, and the 5 to 10 lakh range jobs are what comes to a second tier B school. The broad function, as I said, remains the same, but probably the responsibility for a 10 lakh to 15 lakh may be higher. Okay. So a fintech company definitely comes to a second tier B schools and to the top tier B schools. Probably in a second tier B school, he picks the guy at 8 lakhs. And at a top tier B school, probably he picks it at 15 lakhs. But look, over a period of time, it depends how good you are. And it's just a matter of time before, it's from probably the starting point, that salary could be determined by where you're starting off, but 5 years down the line, all this is going to average out. The question is how good you are. Okay, again, coming to, I think, the packages, I think I talked about digital marketing was another area. A lot of students would put off students is that you start with a lower package because it's a very operational job in the beginning, but believe me, it's an exponential rise in your salary that happens while you go. So I have a student who joined in, let's say, a 4 or 5 lakh package, and within 3 years he's at 15 lakh. That's how much value, or that's how fast you grow in a digital marketing job, right? So I'm also going to come down to this: how do I choose a career? Now I've given you a plethora list, a laundry list of careers, and there's much more also. How do you choose a career in this? How do you decide I should go for a marketing, how do I go to finance, or I should go operations? How do I decide, in operations I should choose a supply chain management, or in marketing I should choose a digital marketing? Now this is a serious question. It's not can't be answered today, but I'm going to leave you some thoughts over here. Three things are there I'm going to talk. One is your interest, your skills in a particular area. Now so a lot of students, they go to a B school and they say, okay, uh, finance seems to be the highest paying job, let's go for finance. Well, if you're not interested, you just can't do a job for 12 hours, 12 to 15 hours a day, 25 years of your life. So you better choose something which interests you. So there's a whole lot of things out there. You need to choose, and it's available out there. So decide what is it that you're interested in. How do you know what you're interested in? Well, spend the next 2 years in your MBA doing that, exploring these opportunities. When you flunk probably in your accounts course, you'll realize it's never meant for you. Or, I'm just joking, but when you do a live project, you may get greatly interested. I have had students, after a live project, they have come back and they've got excited about so a person was thinking of HR, and he goes and does a project in marketing, and the person comes back and now says, I want to do marketing. Because it's one thing listening to my seminar sitting in your home, and another to going and experiencing. So go out there, experience the opportunity as a live project or as an internship, and as a subject, academic subject also, right? A sales class can be so boring, but when you actually go out and do sales, it can be so exciting. So that can, makes a difference between you choosing a sales career or not. So interest is one thing that you need to identify. What are my interests, and broaden down, come on, okay, there are a few interests out of this plethora of available for you. You need to choose your interest areas, and you have your first year for that. First year is common for all students, all specializations are there, so you can choose whichever. You have 1 year to choose on that. The second is skills. Now all of us have certain natural skills. We are born with certain natural skills. The last 20 to 25 years, we have developed certain skills. So there are certain natural skills that we have. There are certain things that now we have to identify those areas and align those areas with our job, right? So as if I am good with good ideas, then marketing is definitely an area that I should be looking at. If I am good with people, then definitely HR should be an area that I look at. If I am very systematic, binary oriented, my thinking, logical, and get good at getting things executed, I might look at operations. If I'm good at numbers, money, I love money, then probably I should be looking at finance. So what skill do you have is very important in choosing what career opportunity you have, because you're competing at the top level. So you need to have those skills. Of course, you can build skills. I'm not saying you can't build skills, but it takes time. But when your natural skills fall in place with what you're doing, that's when you begin to excel. That's when success begins to happen to you. So it's important to understand what your skills are. Each of these jobs, what are the different skills that each of these career opportunities have, and align your skills with that job opportunity that is there, right? So that would be my second. 3 is the opportunity that is available. See, it's one thing to have an interest, it's and then you have the skill, but the opportunity should be there, right? So today, when a long time before, I could tell you that the most one of the most exciting careers was sales and distribution of an FMCG company. Used to be the top most sought after career option in a B school. But today, with the coming of e-commerce companies, and with the coming, suddenly it's changed. People are looking at e-commerce because that's the growth area. When you choose a career, choose it in a growth area, because you're going to grow with it. If you choose a career which is in a stagnant area, then you're going to be stagnant. So you need to look at the opportunities which are available at that point of time. I told you about fintech. Fintech was not there 5 years ago. So today, fintech is there, and you're choosing your career, and that's when you say that, yes, let me look at a fintech company, let me choose as a fintech company, because that's an opportunity that's available to you today, which was not there, let's say, 5 years ago. E-commerce 10 years ago was not there. Probably if it was there, I would have started off in e-commerce, but it was not there. So today you have e-commerce, that's the opportunity available to you, and therefore you decide, okay, based on the opportunity is also important in choosing whichever careers that you would want to choose in. Okay, so that sort of covers my areas. I'm going to sum up, but before I sum up, guys, please, if you have any questions further, you can put down any questions that you want to share with me. Okay, so any specific area, or you can connect with us later in any specific area that we said you can connect with us later. I'm going to sum up the opportunities again. I started off by saying there's one area I didn't touch, which is IT. Probably we leave that around of four of them, which is branding or a product manager, to be a brand manager, two, to be a sales manager, three, to be an advertising executive. An advertising can be a client servicing or account planning. And number four was marketing research, right, which is a research-oriented marketing job. From here, I went into a career opportunity, again, one of the hot, exciting career opportunities, which is called analytics, right, which is growing in big time. So this is one area, exciting career, which I said, take note of. I then went into operations. I said operations is back. And why? Because e-commerce. So looking at e-commerce company, looking at opportunities, e-commerce is an important thing that you should be looking at. I then went into what does constitutes operations. Four things. One, supply chain management, which is the entire chain. Two, you can break it down into vendor management. Three, logistics for customer delivery. So you have opportunities in all these areas, and any of these areas you can specialize in. I then came into finance and talked about fintech. Now that's the hot thing in finance today. The fintech companies are there. I said, yeah, they go to all B schools. They pick up from top tier and second tier B schools. So as I said, whatever opportunities I've talked about are available both in second tier and top tier B schools, right? What are the five areas that, what are the five career opportunities that there are in finance? One is credit analyst, two, equity research analyst, three, financial management, four, financial services, and five, investment banking. So these are the five most important career opportunities in finance. I came to HR and I talked about the four broad areas in HR would be recruiting, performance management, number three, training and development, and number four, operations. We also talked about, okay, in between, see, guys, any questions that you have on this, please, you can drop your question here. I hope I answered the questions with respect to HR, with respect to fintech companies. There were questions with respect to the salary packages. As I said, it ranges from 4 lakh to 15 lakh is what I'm talking about. It depends. In a typical second tier B school, it comes to it like a Vanguard Business School, which I head the placements. The typical package would be around 6 to 8 lakhs would be what the package would be around. So hopefully I've answered some of the questions which you have asked for me. Any questions that you have, please. So HR, somebody asked about it. See, it's a great career option. So the four areas are recruitment, performance management, training and development, operations. You can get into any of these. Yes, there are certain jobs in HR which are being taken out, which are getting automized, but therefore the good thing is now they are going to look for really good talent, right? So that's there. So you can ask me questions if you want to. I'm going to hold for some time, and any questions about the things or your comments on the seminar, anything that further you would like to know, we would really love to hear from you. If you can drop your comments, the comment section is there. Any question, comments are really welcome. It will be great because I've been talking for a long time now. So I'll definitely love to hear from your questions. Yeah. So I'm planning to join in an MBA, but I'm poor in maths. Which subject will be best in an MBA? As I said, see, when you look at an MBA, when you say math, okay, most subjects involve percentages. I mean, in math, okay, when you're looking at, of course, with working with numbers, straight away to answer your question is, yeah, the more math involved subjects would be, or the more math involved specializations are operations and finance, right? So these two areas, we typically say your math should be good. We usually call it your quantitative ability. With respect to your statistics, your quantitative ability should be good. So if it's not good, then yeah, you probably, the other areas such as marketing, HR, IT would be more suitable for you. But I would still say it's early to decide. In a B school, typically there is a certain amount that we spend on aptitude training, on building your math. So there are two subjects, quantitative methods 1, quantitative methods 2, where you will be working again on your quantitative ability. Now, this probably can get you back into the game. If you build your math skill here, then definitely all the options open. But to specifically answer your question, I am poor in maths, therefore, yeah, two area, the areas of finance and operations demands an ability, a good understanding in math and I would say quantitative ability. But therefore that opens, so your options right now at this stage would be marketing, HR, and IT. What are the steps in marketing research? So when a company, so marketing research, a typical companies, IMRB, Hansa Research, companies that are there. So when any client, let's say that Amazon says that, or a Flipkart, has, probably says that, what can we do better to improve our services? What can we do to become better than an Amazon? Right? Is a question that they have. How can we increase our market share? So this is a question that comes, let's say, if it comes to a company, a market research, the steps involved is it has to study its customers, right? So it has to define a marketing research problem. The first thing that it does, then it defines a research methodology, right? So it decides, to put it in a layman's, so it probably designs a questionnaire, right, to understand from its customers, why are customers choosing, let's say, an Amazon over a Flipkart, or what can Flipkart do better, right? And this data is then, questionnaire is given to a company where they collect this data. So customers, obviously, they understand data, they collect this data, analyze this data. So as I said, research methodology is one part, collection of data is the next step. Analyzing this data is the most important step for having, for a person who goes to marketing research, you have to analyze this data and come up with solutions. So finally, you are going to come up with a recommendation to Flipkart saying, these are, let's say, the 5 things that you need to do to improve your process. These are the 5 things that you need to do to improve your market share. So as I said, starting from marketing, the definition of marketing problem, to research methodology, collecting data, analysis, presentation. Right? So these are the 4 or 5 steps that are involved, where finally you come up with the solution to the marketing problem of a company, and you advise, you're like a marketing consultant backed up by data. The important thing is whatever you analyze is backed up by data. Can I opt for an MBA operation having an IT experience? Definitely you can. Okay. See, the good thing about, now that's the early, when you enter an MBA, there is no prerequisite for any of these specializations. See, what does an MBA do when you enter an MBA? They test you on aptitude. That is the only thing they are looking at. Do you have the aptitude to do an MBA? We are not looking for anything before. That's why a person from any graduation, probably something like biology, can come for an MBA, because his graduation is